I would like to begin my talk by thanking those who have organized this conference and greeting all those who are interested in Ibn Arabi's teaching all over the world. Although Ibn Arabi never came to Iran, he was spiritually received with pleasure by the Iranians. Ibn Arabi tells us that a vision of the divine throne told him to go to the east. He performed the pilgrimage to Mecca and became acquainted with an Iranian sheikh from Isfahan, Makinuddin Isfahani. It was not until later on that the teachings of Ibn Arabi passed into Iran mostly through Unabi. Thereafter, his ideas have always been the subject of particular attention of many Iranian Sufi masters. One of the great Iranian Sufi masters who welcomed him was Shah Ne'matullah Wali. He is primarily known as the founder of the order that is named after him, an order which has experienced a revival in the past 2 centuries in Iran. Shah Ne'matullah's chain of initiation through 4 intermediaries goes back to Abu Madian, one of the greatest masters of Ibn Arabi. Shah Ne'matullah has written more than 100 Sufi treatises in Persian, some of which are commentaries on the Naqsh al-Fusus, Ibn Arabi's own summary of Fusus, or on parts of the Fusus. He was a prolific writer, and in addition to his prose in his Divan of Poetry, a work of some 14,000 lines, he uses Ibn Arabi's terminology and concepts. At the beginning of his commentary to the poems of Fusus al-Hikam, Shah Ne'matullah Wali mentions that only the person whose ears has been opened is capable of hearing the call to prayer, Azan. Ibn Arabi's ears were open, and he was therefore able to hear the words of the Fusus from the Prophet, and Shah Ne'matullah likewise from Ibn Arabi, as he has beautifully stated, the words of the Fusus in our heart, like the jewels, are mounted in their settings. They reach him from the Prophet of God, and again from his spirit attached to us. The words of the Fusus, like the jewels, were mounted in the hearts of almost all Iranian Sufi followers. This is why, according to Henry Corbin, among almost 150 commentaries on Fusus al-Hikam, at least 130 works were written by the Iranians. The special place of Ibn Arabi in the development of Islamic thought in Iran is determined more by comparing him with a great Muslim Aristotelian philosopher Ibn Rushd, who was almost contemporary with Ibn Arabi and was his countryman. Because of his pure rationalist philosophy, Ibn Rushd found no place in the development of Islamic thought, even Islamic philosophy in Iran. None of the Muslim philosophers in Iran has mentioned his name or referred to his books. Ibn Arabi in Iran passed. This is the first part of my article. Ibn Arabi's influence has particular significance in different respects in inquiry into the history of Sufism in Iran. One such aspect is his relation with famous Iranian sheikhs such as Shahabuddin Omar Sohrawardi, Sa'adeddin Hamouye, and his close companion Ohadeddin Kermani. The second aspect of his importance is that he has influenced the Sufism by introducing and elaborating such common Shiite Sufi ideas as the issue of Walaya and the perfect man. The ideas which we will find in the works of Iranian Shiite sheikhs like Sa'inuddin Ibn Turki Isfahani, Sayyid Haydar Amoli, and Shah Ne'matullah Wali. The third significant dimension of his works is that his ideas have strongly penetrated Persian Sufi literature in verse like Shabestari's Gulshan Raz, and in prose like Fakhreddin Iraqi's Lama'at. Iraqi was one of the disciples of Unabi, and Lama'at was, according to the words of Unabi, the essence of Fusus. But in his introduction, Iraqi explicitly declares that he has that he has written it based on the tradition of Sheikh Ahmad Ghazali's Sawaneh. What is surprising is that Sawaneh is a book of law in the tradition of Khorasan Sufi's works, and apparently is not at all familiar to Fusus al-Hikam, which is an intellectual type of Sufism. In fact, works such as Lama'at is one of the earliest efforts the Iranian Sufis made to integrate Ibn Arabi's Sufi way into the Khorasani way. Fourth, he and the commentators of his words and views have made great contributions to the establishment of theoretical Sufism in Iran, the Sufism which later affected the whole doctrinal trend of philosophy. Of course, there were some famous figures of Sufism who tended to oppose some ideas of Ibn Arabi while they agreed with him on the whole. For instance, Sayyid Haydar Amoli, the famous writer of an enormous commentary on the Fusus, and Sheikh Alauddoleh Semnani, who disagreed with him in the issue of the seal of Walaya and unity of existence, respectively. Ibn Arabi's presence in Iran was the strongest in Safavid era, which has been the most complicated era throughout the whole history of Islamic thought in Iran. The present conditions of Islamic mentality in Iran, including Sufism, especially Ibn Arabi's school, follow the very trend that this mentality developed in that period. In the Safavid period, Ibn Arabi influenced the Shiite thinking in different aspects in philosophy. Sohrawardi's teachings had already paved the way for Sufi interpretation of Islamic philosophy. However, this philosophy, when strongly affected by Ibn Arabi, changed into a Sufi philosophy, hikmah, and was called transcendent wisdom, al-hikmatul muta'aliyah. Mullah Sadrat, the greatest Shiite philosopher and a follower of Ibn Arabi, is the founder of this philosophy. His works, like Asfar, are full of references to the words and ideas of Ibn Arabi and his expositors.